Our reaction to Andrew McCarthy's new documentary, Brats. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's go back. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Gen X Unfiltered, the podcast.
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Whoa, Eric's a little spicy on this Tuesday evening.
That was my new thing. I got told I had to do that every time. So.
That's right. You guys let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
I forgot about
good or
that.
bad, let us know.
I didn't get any feedback on the last one.
I thought you were just being spicy on this Tuesday.
No,
No? Okay.
not yet.
All right. So, as the title suggests, we all watched the brand new Andrew McCarthy documentary, Brats.
That's right.
All about the Brat Pack. And we're here to talk about it. But first, before we talk about it, I'm going to ask you guys a question, okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to watching the Brats documentary, because that, may have swayed some things, but prior to that, Steve, who did you consider to be in the quote-unquote Brat Pack?
I always just kind of assumed it was like basically the guys from pretty much the Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club?
Yeah, basically. I thought it was like Emilio Estevez,
Can't remember the
Judd
name.
Nelson, Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy. And kind of that was it, I guess.
All right, Eric, what about you? Prior to the movie.
Prior to the movie, I thought it was like pretty much exactly the Breakfast Club and the St. Elmo's Fire Crew. So there's some crossover folks there, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I knew Debbie Moore, I think, was part of it. And who else did I think was part of it? I guess that was really it. Just kind of Debbie Moore on top of the Breakfast Club folks.
Yeah.
See, I never really thought much about the Brat Pack, but we've all heard
Really? You didn't think about it on a daily basis, wondering who was in it, what they're doing now?
Oh, Andrew McCarthy. I knew he was part of it too.
Andrew McCarthy, yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
But so when I ever heard the term Brat Pack, like I had seen Breakfast Club, I think I've seen 16 Candles, I don't really remember like all those movies back then. I'd never seen St. Elmo's Fire, and I always just assumed the Brat Pack people were the people in that movie because they always had that picture of that cast when they talked about the Brat Pack,
because most
right?
of them were kind of
so,
quote unquote in the Brat Pack or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
All right, let's just,
So is this the official list of who is it?
These are the key members because
All right.
as we'll discuss from the documentary, there's a lot of who really was in the Brat Pack.
That was one of the biggest
Yeah.
questions in the documentary. It was like, who do you think is actually in the Brat Pack?
So it was Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, and Ali Sheedy. Anthony Michael Hall? I don't remember him being mentioned.
No.
But anyway, that's sort of the key.
Yeah. It's weird because
members.
he was in
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club. He's in 16 Candles.
16
He was in
Candles.
He was in that sort of same sphere as those other actors.
Yeah.
So you kind of think that all of them would be considered it, but it's a weird thing.
He'll always be like Russ Griswold to me, but
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So we're like 5 minutes into this podcast, and just for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about,
That's
the
a good
Brat
point.
Pack.
Yeah, yeah,
Who
yeah.
is the Brat Pack? So the Brat Pack refers to a group of young actors who frequently appeared together in coming-of-age films in the 1980s. The term was coined by New York Magazine journalist David Bloom in a 1985 article, which is the basis pretty much of the whole Brats documentary,
Yeah.
which we'll
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about.
the impact of that article.
Yeah, and it says the Brat Pack's origin can be traced to a handful of films directed by John Hughes and Joel Schumacher that featured a reoccurring ensemble of young actors, and then those actors that I just mentioned. But again, it's funny because like Demi Moore was in one of those movies, but she's in the Brat Pack.
Well, that's the thing. I never think of Demi Moore as a member of the Brat Pack.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I totally forgot you. I hadn't watched St. Elmo's Fire in years until we watched it again on the weekend.
Yeah, I'd never
I
seen
forgot. I
it.
kind of forgot she was in it, to be honest. So I'd never ever think of her as being a part of the Brat Pack.
So
It is weird because she kind of distanced herself from them, I think, for the most part of her
Well,
career.
I mean, she's clearly the most famous out of all the. Rob Lowe. Hi.
Rob Lowe's done well. He's had some ups.
Hey.
He's kind of a rocky finish after it, but yeah, he's kind of come back out on
Look,
top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe had his,
He had his
bad
down
era.
times.
His,
Yeah.
his,
Yeah.
his bad times.
Yeah.
But yes. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, they all did. I mean,
Hi.
it's yeah.
So some of the notable films that are quintessential Brat Pack movies, which are characterized by their focus on teenage angst, friendship, and struggles of growing up: The Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire, 16 Candles, and Pretty in Pink. Those are kind of like the
yeah.
main ones, I guess.
That seems to be the kind of that
core,
sort of era,
the core
of,
Brat Pack movies,
like the era of the Brat Pack. It wasn't very long because they all like after this article came out, they pretty much all like, well, I'm not a part of this.
Let's talk about that quickly, because if you haven't seen the Brats documentary by Andrew McCarthy, it's interesting. It's interesting, and I didn't really know what to expect going into it, and I have some strong opinions about it.
I really didn't know. I mean, obviously I knew, like, obviously I'd heard the term, never read the article on it. Obviously, like, it was, pretty young when it came out.
Yeah.
Well,
so I never read it before, so didn't really know much about it.
Well, I thought that the documentary, honestly, was going to be more of like, sort of like a history of the Brat Pack and like, how it's all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't. The whole premise of the documentary was literally him, Andrew McCarthy. I always want to say the other guy's name, Andrew McCarthy. Trying to get in touch with all of the Brat Packers now to talk about this article and how it seemingly destroyed their lives.
How it negatively impacted their career.
And one of the interesting tidbits right off the top, which we were all kind of surprised at, because again, it's this like illusion that you have, but like he's like, I haven't talked to any of these guys in like 30 plus years.
That was the biggest one of the biggest things was like, even back in the 80s, none of them were really friends. They made some movies together, but none of them hung out on a regular basis on that at all. And I think that was the whole thing, was the Brat Pack. Everyone thought they were like best friends and did everything
there was a lot of assumptions.
On screen. And, it's like, oh, they're friends in St. Elmo's Fire. They must be best friends off the screen. It's like, nope, not at all.
No.
So this article was basically just about this group of actors doing these movies. And he actually, the journalist, because he got interviewed by whatever
Andrew
the guy's
McCarthy.
name, Andrew McCarthy. I just want to say Anthony McCartney or whatever. I don't know.
Paul McCartney.
But the way the term the Brat Pack came about was so innocuous. Like, it was just so. Do you remember the story about what he said?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but he was just kind of thinking about it. I can't remember exactly what he said, but if you remember, the guy had...
I don't... I mean, I watched it, but I mean... No, but it was basically
I think she's throwing a line out there.
The way he put us on the spot, I was like...
Well, no, because we talked about it. So, I mean, I don't remember the specifics. And again, it was a movie. It was a week ago. It was like 4 days ago. It's been a long time, okay? But it was basically just he was trying to come up with, like, a catchy phrase or verse or whatever, a term. And then, like, Brat just sort of stemmed from something, and like that's literally how it was.
There was not like a lot of thought to it. Just kind of popped into his head, thinking maybe obviously it's like a reference to the Rat Pack, but it just kind of popped into his head. It wasn't like he went out and was like trying to think of this super clever,
and it
just kind of
all changed because of that one article. What was so the documentary starts out with him trying to contact Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Ali Sheedy, Molly Ringwald, Judd
Nelson.
I think that was all. Those are the people that he was kind of going... Was the St. Elmo's Fire crew.
Yeah, so the first part of the documentary is really him searching out the former Brat Pack members to try and get their opinion on the article, how it impacted their career, all that stuff, right? So it's really kind of interesting to see like him searching for people and their willingness or unwillingness in some cases to be part of the documentary and talk about it.
Well, that's the thing. A couple of people were like...
let's go through the list. So Emilio Estevez met with him pretty quickly.
Yeah, he was on board...
to talk about it.
He kind of was indifferent to the whole thing. He didn't really...
Molly or Ali Sheedy, same thing. He got her pretty quickly, and she was really refreshing. I don't know. I like her.
Yeah, she didn't seem too down about the article. She thought that the article, kind of helped empower them in some ways.
And then Molly Ringwald was a big fat hell to the no.
She was not interested in being part of the documentary. She's like, I'm forward looking. I don't want to worry about stuff from the past or bring it back up again. And
I'll talk about that in a second. It's so crazy to me. But Judd Nelson was that his name? Judd Nelson, same thing.
He was a hard one to find.
He never showed up. He
never showed up in the documentary, and he was. Andrew McCartney had a really hard time trying to get a hold of him in the first place.
Just trying to track him down. It's not like he was,
even like an actor anymore?
Good question.
I don't know.
Think so.
I'm sure he's probably.
I mean, the last thing I remember seeing him in was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was 20 years ago.
And surprisingly, Demi Moore, she was there.
Demi Moore was on board.
She was pretty open. I mean, what is she? She doesn't care. Her career was just fine.
She did
her
well.
Yeah.
And who did I forget? Did I forget anybody? Rob Lowe.
Yeah, how do you forget Rob Lowe?
Yeah, Rob Lowe.
Hi, Rob Lowe. Yes.
Rob Lowe, if you're out there, I think maybe Kelly's got a
hit
thing.
Me up, Rob. It's those eyes.
He looks good for his age. I'll give him that.
He does. True. Damn.
What's your secret, Rob?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, maybe not tell us because he did a lot of bad things.
Yeah. He'll look at us and be like, too late, Eric.
yeah.
But yeah, so Molly Ringwald was a big hell to the no, and Judd Nelson was a big hell to the no.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was like, spoiler alert, at the very end, Judd Nelson calls into McCartney's phone.
But he clearly didn't give permission for that phone call to be in the video.
And potentially the whole thing was like staged. Yeah, exactly. He didn't actually really call him. It was just sort of like a pop at the end of the movie.
It literally ended when his phone rang and he's like, Judd, and then it went black.
Yeah.
So obviously he wasn't interested. If it was him, he wasn't interested in being in the video per se.
Yeah, exactly.
Or documentary, I guess. So that kind of takes us to the whole like what everybody... I'm just going to preface this by saying like, I was my instinctual reaction was I was shocked at how some of them were still so butthurt about that article.
Well, I mean, the whole reason it seemed like Andrew McCarthy made this movie was basically like because
he figured it ruined his career.
He was the biggest butthurt one. Like,
he was really...
It's crazy to me, like, that it's been like 30, 40, I don't even know, 40 years, 30 years, 35 years, and there's like some of them are still so butthurt about it.
Yeah, he's pretty bitter.
He totally thought that article pigeonholed him into like, this is what you are. You're a Brat Packer.
Yeah.
You're not a serious actor necessarily.
Yeah,
and you're not going to get like the good roles because of that.
But look, Demi Moore did.
Eventually.
It's true.
Maybe you're just not a good actor.
None of them much in the 90s and stuff. Like till later on, it took them probably a good 10 years to all kind of get over that sort of hump.
Yeah, Demi Moore, like she broke out. Like I'm trying to think. She had like
she was in the 90s.
She had A Few Good Men was a good movie she was in. Well, I mean, there's Striptease and G.I. Jane, not the best movies, but she had like big roles.
Yeah.
Well, and Rob Lowe, I mean, he was more of a TV guy. Like he did movies, obviously, but he did a lot of TV series. So I mean, like. I get it. I just think it's weird that 35 years later you're still that bitter. Like I get when you're like in your 20s and 30s you're still struggling and you're like typecast, but like really?
Yeah, but I guess I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. You're kind of they were sort of just starting out at that point too, right? And they're sort of getting on that sort of crest of fame, and then someone comes along and just
paints them with the same brush,
sort of sandbags you, chops you, cuts your knees out.
But why couldn't they have just turned it into something good? Like, they should have leaned in.
That was what Ali Sheedy was kind of saying.
Maybe they should have. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, I don't know, how they all responded to it. Like, in this one article too, which is kind of crazy that it was such a big deal. Like, I wouldn't have thought it was such a big deal, but.
Well, you're right. Ali Sheedy was kind of like. She was just very indifferent, which I really loved her kind of like, it may have sucked at the time, but like, whatever, I'm here and I did my thing. And I mean, and I got to say, girl looks good for her age.
She looked pretty much the same. I mean,
like,
obviously with different hair and stuff like that, but like
beautiful, like gorgeous Ali Sheedy.
Yeah, no, she looked pretty much the same as
your secrets, Ali Sheedy. Because I mean, no knocking if she has or hasn't, but I mean, she doesn't look like one of those stereotypical 60-year-olds that's had like work done.
No.
She's just beautiful.
She looked natural. Yeah. From what I remember, she did look like she aged gracefully and did well.
But she was very much just sort of like.
Yeah, she was definitely not like butthurt by the whole article. No. Not hanging on to the past.
Yeah.
Made her peace with whatever happened back then.
Andrew McCarthy ended up like, at first I wasn't really sure what his vibe was. Like I wasn't really kind of sure, but then like I thought it was really kind of funny when he interviewed the author of that article.
That was built up to be like a big scene. It's like, oh wow, he's got all of these like bad feelings towards the author in that article. Yeah, and here he is. He's going to interview him. Let's see how this goes.
I thought it was going to be a little more.
First of all, he was kind of
tense or something like that.
Well, he was a shitty interviewer. Like he wasn't very good.
He's an actor.
I know. But also, I think it was kind of funny because I think he was like literally expecting this guy to apologize for the article. Like that's what he was going in wanting. You could feel it. You could feel it.
Yeah,
he wanted redemption.
A little more like
And the guy was just like, well, he's like, no, I wrote the article. And
he didn't seem to be.
He was basically like, nope, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I'd stort that article. I'd still, call you guys the Brat Pack. Like I wouldn't change anything. Really.
Yeah. He was kind of like, I didn't, and he was like, I think he's kind of like, my intent wasn't to be like super malicious.
Yeah.
It wasn't a very glowing article.
No.
So, I mean,
it was really funny. The author, like what he thought was going to happen for his career after that article came out, because the article blew up. It was huge, right?
Yeah.
He was like, "Wow, I'm going to get myself into that next tier of like journalist, moving on up in the world. When I'm going to talk to the editor of the paper, and this is it. I'm in the big time." And then nope, that was
he kind of thought it was going to make his journalistic career like.
Yeah,
he would be a celebrity or,
exactly.
Like, big writer or whatever. And it clearly didn't do a whole lot for him.
It's just so crazy to me, like this one article that was just, like, I mean, whatever. I don't know. I mean, Andrew is it McCarthy or McCartney?
McCarthy.
I have a lot of trouble with your name. I'm sorry, dude. But he, like, as the movie went on and on and on, like, again, at first, but he was just kind of, I don't know, he was just kind of like a whiny baby about it. I'm going to be honest. That was my vibe at the end. It
definitely, like, you could tell it's still, like, he definitely considering he still did like quite a few movies after that too, like some big ones. Like he was in Mannequin and Weekend of Burn. Like, those were big movies from what I remember.
Yeah, Mannequin was like
I know they were more like comedies, not like necessarily any sort of gritty drama stuff. But
Weekend at Bernie's, and I saw it when I was a kid, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, no, it was a huge movie. If I remember, like I don't know box office wise, but I mean they made a sequel, so it obviously did something well. And
exactly.
Like as a Mannequin, it's sort of like a classic '80s like movie.
Again, like okay, I get it, the what ifs, but like. Even if this article wasn't written, they could have had a worse career. Maybe,
well, that's
you know what I
the
mean?
whole thing. Sometimes, like, just because, it's easy to be like, this article is the reason why I'm not getting the roles I want. This article is the reason why I'm not whatever.
Exactly. I wasn't a bigger success than I am.
Is it the article's fault? I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows what he's being told when if he's going into audition and stuff like that. Like, I'm sure it didn't help them per se, but...
It's also an easy out for a casting director to be like, oh, sorry, man, you're... too much associated with this Brat Pack. You're not right for the movie.
What was
instead of saying, "Sorry, man, you're not right for this movie." Like,
hold on. I have a question because full disclosure, I never actually read the article. Did you guys read the article?
No.
Oh shit. Okay.
I own the article.
Oops, we didn't do our research on that part.
I didn't realize he actually wrote a new article
about the Brat.
Yeah.
Oh shit, we should have read that too. Okay, hold on a second. I do have a question though. This is just my I obviously assume in my head, but I'm gonna ask. So I'm guessing the whole vibe of this Brat Pack was that they were these like badass out of control actors. Was that the whole thing? Is that why it was like a bad typecast because they were like
bratty?
I
think so. Well, I think because the whole thing is like, so basically he was supposed to write an article about Emilio Estevez only,
right? Yes.
And then he was hanging out with them because that's what you do. And then they were out one night and a bunch of them showed up and they were all just young actors drinking and partying and stuff like that. So then he sort of transitioned the article from Emilio to these guys, all of them.
Yeah.
I think talking about the way they were, like, and gave them that kind of, these guys are all young
partiers,
and enjoying the perks of celebrity and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But that's not bad.
But that's sort of the author's take is like, look, like you get the perks of celebrity. Like I was with you guys hanging out that night.
Yeah.
We just got to skip the line and do all those sorts of things celebrities get.
Yeah.
So that's, the perks of being a celebrity. The trade-off is you get articles like this sometimes.
Well, that's exactly the thing.
So he's like, I don't feel bad for you. This is just sort of how the business works.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's like, this is how it is, guys. Like,
I don't think that Andrew McCarthy liked that answer.
No, he was. I think you're 100% right. I think he was looking for an apology for this guy. Be like, you know what? I'm sorry, man. I wouldn't have wrote that article. I feel like it negatively impacted all your careers. Set you guys back. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have done it. But that's not what Andrew McCarthy got at all.
No. But good for a journalist, though. I mean, he wrote an article. It was obviously like an editorial type piece. He wrote it. He owns it. And he's like, I'm not apologizing for it.
Well, and he wasn't also the opposite. He wasn't like an evil villain either. It was like, yes, haha, like, you stupid sons of bitches. I did it. I got exactly what I wanted. I ruined your careers. And this is the whole, it wasn't that either. The guy's just like, hey, man, I was doing my job.
This
I write
what
I
saw
see.
That night. Yeah.
This was the article I wrote.
But that's not bad stuff. I mean, look at the whole like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, Kim Kardashian era. They were all doing the same thing.
Well, but that was one of the points that kind of came up too with like Rob Lowe and some of these talking when their interviews saying like, that at that point in time too, right? There wasn't teen movies.
No, that's
movies
true.
Geared towards 20-somethings was kind of non-existent in Hollywood.
That's why they kind of blew up.
So it was kind of like this new guard coming in too, right?
The youth movement,
Yeah, so maybe the old guard wasn't so crazy about that, right? So it's like, look, the Brats, they are Brats. These kids are 20, they're making all this money making these movies. They're not going to come in and ruin our industry.
Exactly. They're not serious actors like we are.
And that was their biggest point of contention was, I think, that they're everyone thinks we're just brats here for the money and fun, but we actually are actors and care about our craft. And
well, then they should have proved it.
Well, a lot of them did or tried to. I mean, it's easier said than done. It's
of course, but like, let's be real. We're never gonna really like. Look, I watched St. Elmo's Fire this past weekend for the first time, and
we watched that because we wanted something to associate this documentary with.
Well, just to make because it's like I hadn't seen that in years.
I'm just gonna say that none of them were winning an Oscar for their roles in that shitty movie.
It was actually a lot worse than I remember.
Oh yeah,
terrible.
That movie was hot garbage. I'm not gonna lie.
It was all over the place.
Look,
and it was like
my whole thing was it was just like, okay, so you know how they have those movies now? They had that one, like, it was like Valentine's Day, New Year's or whatever, where it's a whole bunch of stories.
It's a big ensemble cast.
But they all connect somehow, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what St. Elmo's Fires was, but nothing really connected. It was like 10. It was like
stories weren't that good.
No, but it just felt like 6 different storylines, and then all of a sudden somebody was sleeping with somebody because this person was, and then the guy was up in the woods being a stalker to a doctor.
The Emilio Estevez
that was weird.
Story arc was not good.
No, I know he came off as a really
like a weird
creepy stalker. And where did he drive? And he's in New York City. All in there in like the woods and there's snow everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, where did you go, man?
Yeah, exactly.
How far north did you drive? Like, are you in Canada? Like,
yeah.
It made no sense. Yeah, it was.
There was no redemption arc to his story at all. Like, he never was like, oh, I should like take a step back here.
No, Eric, the redemption was when he kissed her and then got the picture and gave
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He doubled down on his craziness and got rewarded.
Yeah, I'm surprised Andy McDowell didn't mace him or something like that.
Exactly.
Like in real life.
But
I'd be like,
because they basically told him to go home, and then for some reason Andy McDowell's boyfriend's like, I'll take a picture of you two.
Yeah, I know.
Which makes no sense. So they're taking so while he's getting the camera, Emilio like kisses her, and then she kisses him back. So Emilio's like, my craziness is being rewarded. She actually does like me.
She's not terrified that I drove all the way out here after I met her. I went on one date like 6 months ago.
Exactly.
When failed,
and then so like the guy takes the picture, and Emilio's like got a goofy look on his face, gives Andy McDowell the picture. She's like,
you'll remember this forever.
Yeah, exactly.
The crazy guy that showed up at your house.
And then he drives off victorious, like he's won, and the girl's his now.
Like, it was just
and then they were in touch on the fact like what happened to his job with his boss, like that he used his house at this massive party. I'm guessing he got shit canned.
Oh, shit canned, totally, yeah. He's done.
Demi Moore was a drug addict for like 5 minutes and like had a mental breakdown, but then was fine.
She locked herself in the bedroom with the windows open. It was a terrifying scene.
She was gonna freeze, man. She was gonna freeze. It was very cold outside. It was very, very cold.
But then guess who saved her?
Rob Lowe.
Well, the best of the guy, like they get the propane tanks and they're trying to weld it, like he's trying to like weld the doors open and stuff like that. It's like, what is going on? Like, really?
It was so bad. Like, I thought, okay, maybe it'll be bad, like nostalgic bad, but it was just terrible. It was terrible.
But also, these people are like 25, like they were just out of college and their lives already terribly shit. It's
exactly. Like I was trying to laugh. Well, I did laugh, but when Judd Nelson, he confronts Rob Lowe because he's like, it's 4 months after college. Like, you're still partying like it's college, man. That was 4 months ago.
I know. It's like, what?
It's like, so in 4 months, you expect him to like totally like be a reformed business person now? Like, people when they're like young, they still party after college.
Well, and no one really kind of blinks an eye the fact that this guy's got a wife and a kid.
Like,
all of a sudden the wife and kid. No, he was performing and he's like, stop making out with my wife. And I think I said to you guys, he's married.
No,
he was just making out with the blonde.
But no one seemed to really care about that at all. He's like a deadbeat dad and all this stuff. It's a very
So for me personally, I think objectively, like that movie St. Elmo's Fire did more to damage all of their careers than that article ever did.
That's my point.
It was a terrible movie.
That's my point. Is that they were all terrible in that movie. Even Demi Moore sucked.
Yeah. No, it was not a good movie at all.
No,
especially when you look at something like 16 Candles is like a really good movie. I think, and like it really captures the teenage angst and uncertainty and stuff like that.
Exactly. Same with like Breakfast Club.
Yeah, and I think that's like someone like Molly Ringwald and I think Judd Nelson specifically, and they're too good in those movies.
Yeah,
Judd Nelson is always going to be Bender.
You think that Molly Ringwald's a good actor?
Yeah,
she was. I think in Brilliant Pink and Breakfast Club and stuff. Yeah, they were all really good.
That's a really good point because like
I think that they're stuck in those roles. It's like Tony Soprano and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was really like weird watching Judd Nelson in St. Elmo's Fire because he's so opposite of Bender.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club.
Because I think I said that to you. I'm like, oh, he's like the business guy.
He's like a straight edge Republican
with his,
now.
Like, goatee and all this stuff.
Yeah,
it's okay.
He's working for like a governor. He's like fresh out of school.
It's okay. He was still cheating on his lady.
Yeah. He was. Yeah,
extracurrities got him in
extracurriculars.
It's okay. Then she just went in. And who is she with?
Andrew McCarthy.
Andrew McCarthy. She found Andrew and she did a revenge bang.
That's right.
Yeah, so we can all agree that St. Elmo's Fire was hot dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Except for one part. Eric, which part?
what a setup that was.
Right? I practiced that setup.
Straight right down the middle.
I practiced that setup.
The only redeeming thing of that movie, I think, is the David Foster soundtrack.
Yeah.
It was pretty popular at the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Man in Motion was a huge
Man in Motion song.
Is it called Man in Motion? I don't even know.
Yeah, it is. But
the piano love theme that kept playing through the whole movie.
That played for every scene.
Yeah, they definitely did overkill with like the songs. It was like the same 3 or 4 songs through the whole movie.
Yeah.
But David Foster got his little stamp on that because Eric and I were watching the credits, and it was like every single song had David Foster's name in it.
He was either a producer of the song, a writer of the song. Like he was all over the whole soundtrack.
That's why David Foster's worth $1 gazillion.
That's right. We lived in the Malibu mansion, whatever he lived in with the Jenner boys and all that stuff.
Yeah. That's why he's a gazillionaire. But yeah, the soundtrack was okay, but the movie was just terrible. And I was expecting it to be like, like kind of like Breakfast Clubby, whatever, like that kind of Breakfast Clubby. I said that weird. Sorry. Breakfast Clubby.
Yeah.
But like it was just garbage.
I think they built that movie up to be like a defining movie of the generation potentially.
Yeah.
Because it had this big ensemble cast of all the popular young actors and actresses at the time.
Yeah.
But it just it bombed.
Like I'm assuming it was popular, wasn't it?
I looked it up and it didn't do.
I don't
do great.
think it was as popular as.
It made like $37 million, which is like a marginal hit for the time.
Yeah.
But the critics panned it, and
I don't think it was the massive hit I thought it was going to be.
No, I didn't even know going into it what the movie was about. Like I had never seen it, never really read anything. I knew it had like an ensemble cast. I assumed it was sort of like a life type movie. Like I assumed it was one of those type movies. But yeah, I had no expectations or idea. I know Eric had said, "Oh yeah, it's not so great," and I was like, "Whatever, it can't be that bad."
Yeah,
and it felt.
Well, it's really not very well written.
I don't know what the official running time in that movie was, but it felt like I was there for 17 days.
Yeah, you felt like you lived like through like 10 months with these people.
Yeah, out of all compared to like the other ones on that list you had, like Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, like definitely not. Definitely the lowest out of the on the bottom of that list of good movies. The other ones are really good. That one's
But kind of tying it back to the documentary we watched, do you guys think that? Like, okay, what was your impression overall after watching that documentary of Andrew McCarthy? Like, what do you think? Like, he's justified, or it was like, I don't know. What's your vibe from him after watching that documentary?
I think he's a man full of regret. Maybe not regret, but like, I think he feels like he could have been a lot bigger than he was.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe he looks like Rob Lowe and Demi Moore and some of the other cast members. Like, I should have been like that. I could have been that, but because of this article.
I think maybe he thinks he could have been like upper echelon actors like Brando or somebody like that.
Yeah,
maybe because he had an acting career. Like it's not like he didn't have a career at all, right?
No, exactly. He's been in a lot of stuff.
What he had, he wasn't happy with, and he thinks it's that article's fault.
Yeah, that's what it definitely felt like, and I don't know if doesn't even appreciated what he had.
So that's sort of my vibe from him. Again, I know nothing about him. Literally nothing. I just watched the documentary. I thought he was the other guy from Breakfast Club. I didn't even know that. Yeah, that's who I thought he was. I had no idea.
Yeah, he wasn't in that movie at all.
No, but I think that, I don't know, for me, he just came across at the end as kind of just bitter, resentful, like blame game. Like, who knows what he could have been if but like, come on, are we really blaming one article from 35 years ago for completely destroying your career up to this point?
Yeah.
Like, that's a bit of a stretch, and it kind of sounds like an excuse.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's, it's an easy way to say, hey, I could have done this, but because of that article, I didn't get a shot.
There was other ones that were successful. Like, I mean,
well, and that's the thing. It's like, they all had careers in some way, shape, or form. Most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like Molly. Well, maybe that's why she's bitter. But I don't know, like, what was she in after those '80s movies? I mean, I'm sure she was in stuff. But
she kind of disappeared. I think for a while. Yeah. She's been in some stuff, but
I think once John Hughes kind of like she wasn't in any of his movies, or his movies kind of like faded out.
Yeah.
Like she her career kind of faded out too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, I know she was been in some other stuff, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
But like Ali Sheedy,
she made like bit like cameo apperances.
Yeah.
In not another teen movie, she made an appearance in that. That was like 2000 though.
Yeah.
But I mean, she has no
cameo, nothing big.
Leading roles. What about Ali Sheedy? I feel like she's done more than Molly Ringwald. But maybe not.
I'm not sure. She was in like the Short Circuit movies.
But I kind of feel
Johnny Five is alive.
But I kind of feel like she's just like, whatever.
Yeah, she was unbothered, which is kind of refreshing.
She didn't seem to be too upset about it. Yeah.
And I think she just kind of sort of was unbothered, but also just was grateful for the success that they had back then.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, it's easy to be like, I could have, I should have, I would have done more. It's like, but you had, like I said, even Andrew McCarthy. It's like, you're in a bunch of movies in the '80s and '90s, and I don't know. I honestly don't know what else he's done since. And I mean, I look at IMDb, he's probably done more than that, and maybe behind the scenes stuff. I don't know. But I
mean, I think he's done okay because we looked up their net worths after and stuff. Because we always do, and he was worth like 17 million, I think, around there.
I mean,
so that's not like you can live a comcomfortable life on $17 million.
Poor Judd Nelson.
Yeah, he was it like
2 million or something?
Yeah.
I mean, and if he's happy, who cares?
If I had $2 million, I'd be a happy guy. But,
exactly, yeah.
But I think because of the documentary and his lack of wanting to appear in it, I feel like he's a bitter Betty too. So I'm like,
Yeah, some of that's kind of telling, right? Like Molly Ringwald wouldn't be in it, Judd Nelson wouldn't be in it. That kind of makes me think they were definitely on the bitter pill side.
Because if I was Molly Ringwald and she's like, I'm looking forward, not looking back. Like, I get that in the theory of life, but at the same time, like, I don't know, you think you just want to like talk about him and be like, oh my god, I can't believe that's crazy.
You think so? But I'm gonna guess, especially those who specifically have probably been asked about those movies
probably
in the last 40 years,
every fucking day. I bet you someone comes out to them and says, I loved you in Breakfast Club, I loved you
but is that bad?
No, it's not bad, but that doesn't mean you want, at some point you want to, I get you want to move on from that stuff too, right? So that's why you're like, I'm not going to talk about it because...
I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
So I can understand where they're coming from because you hear about that all the time with, like, look at, like, Friends or whatever, getting typecast. All these, like, Tony Soprano, all these guys, like...
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
interesting, right? I think
it's a double-edged sword.
It is for sure. I think it all comes down to your perspective on things, right? Because there's a million actors out there that would have loved to have been typecast.
And any of these actors would have killed to be in this, any sort of like, to be in some sort of role.
Yeah. If you're like, a struggling actor who's just waiting tables, looking for your big break, you're like, hell, I would love to be typecast as a successful character in a big movie.
Well, wasn't Molly Ringwald in like every one of those movies? Was she the only one that was in every one?
She wasn't in St. Elmo's Fire, but she was,
I mean, good for her.
If it was John Hughes in the 80s, she was pretty much in
a lot of them. Michael Hall were
so she was already like typecast, like just from doing the John Hughes movie. She's like the John Hughes girl.
Yeah.
So any other role, like other than like a teenage angsty girl, would just not have been her thing. It just wouldn't have worked.
It might have, but again, you get typecast, right? It's like, no, you can't play this role because you're her, and that's I think what Andrew McCarthy was kind of getting at. You can't play this role because you're a goofy brat that doesn't want to appreciate anything, so you couldn't have a serious role.
Well, some of that is just transition too, right? Like actors when they're playing like young people or like teenagers, they don't always make that transition into like adult roles.
No, it's hard. It's because you're going from like playing some goofy comedy roles to trying to be a serious actor. It's not every like look at because that's the thing too. I didn't even talk about look at like Tom Cruise and these guys. They were in that time frame too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Timothy Hutton was in the documentary. He won an Oscar when he was like 19.
Yeah.
So it's all over the map. It's
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously factors of typecasting and whatever, but you can't tell me that nobody out there would ever give them a role just because they were labeled the Brat Pack. I'm just saying that, because look, again, I'm going to use the example, Demi Moore, Rob Lowe, they went on to be very successful. I mean, very successful.
Rob Lowe, he never made it in movies though.
But that's fine. But like, let's be real. I mean, Rob Lowe had the trashiest personal life out of all of them that was publicized.
Yeah,
he still overcame that and became super successful in television. I mean, he's still an actor.
No, it's true.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is, if you think, and maybe that's the perfect example of this stuff, like, it's like everyone says, if you get rich to realize it doesn't bring you any happiness.
Well, no, I mean...
That may be part of it too, right? People are thinking, if only I'd gotten this role, then I'd be happier. Or things would be so much better if I had done this or that. And you get there, it's like, no, it's the same thing.
I think we all...
At the end of the day, who do you think a happier person is? Ali Sheedy or Andrew McCarthy?
I think we need to have the Ali Sheedy vibe. Like, she was so unbothered, but grateful at the same time.
And that's what you had to just be grateful for the experience. And
I should say, Emilio Estevez was kind of just like,
No, he didn't really...
we forgot to talk about him. I mean, he was pretty successful in his career.
No, he's done well too. Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, a lot of these guys, they're still steady acting. Again, then it becomes the next thing that what's considered successful as an actor.
Well, I mean,
that's talking like Oscars and like blockbuster movies, then most of them haven't done anything.
No, but I think it's your own personal,
that's what I'm saying is that you need to be happy with what you're doing and where you're at. It's easy to be looking at everyone else around you and be like, why am I that person?
And
why am I not doing that? It's like
comparison, the thief of joy.
Exactly.
I'm basing my comments and reactions to the documentary and just how my opinion, Andrew McCarthy just comes across as so butthurt and bitter.
It definitely had that, like, he didn't seem too, like, angry about it, but the whole thing just seemed kind of like
it's almost like wah wah. Like, that's what you feel like.
How dare this article be written about us?
And he never came to any real resolution at the end either. He wasn't like at peace with it.
No,
it just kind of was open ended. Like,
it didn't like. It was a weird.
He didn't get what he wanted out of the author. He never came to terms with it himself in the end.
No.
Yeah, no, it didn't seem like he was kind of like, oh, you know what? It was a great time, and it was kind of like he was still like.
He was like, I appreciate the experience, the times I had with my fellow actors.
Yeah.
None of that. It was like, where's Judd?
So here's like another thing.
Why don't you call Jonathan Silverman? See how happy he is.
Yeah.
Your buddy from Weekend at Bernie's.
Here's another thing that he mentioned in the documentary really quickly that, or was mentioned. I don't know who said it. But so when this article came out, they all were like, let's scattered. Let's not have any involvement with each other. Let's not be seen
together with each other. We're not doing movies together.
And it's like, I don't know who said it. Was it Ali Sheedy? I don't remember. But basically, like, we could have really just embraced that.
Well, they probably should have. Because that's the thing. These guys are all kind of being cast in movies together. All of a sudden, they want to work together.
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez had an example when he's interviewing. Remember, he's like, there's a movie that they wanted Emilio and Andrew to be in together, and Emilio was like, no, we're not going to do it because because of the association.
And because Andrew McCarthy was like, oh, that is what happened. I always wondered.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah.
Oh, because Andrew, Bitter Betty, thought that it was just like they didn't want him or something, wasn't it?
No. He thought it was.
Because of the typecast.
He assumed it was because of the Brat Pack thing. He's like, Emilio's not going to want to do this.
And
he didn't want to do it after then. Then just whatever reason the movie didn't get made.
Yeah.
So it was kind of it proved his point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's like, I listed on the work because of the Brat Pack Association.
Yeah.
But that's because Emilio didn't want to do it with him. So it wasn't just, that was another actor.
No, I know.
But Emilio didn't want to do it because of that Brat
Pack
thing. So
it's just so weird. It's just so like funny, like that they all, like, not out of all of them, they all just, it's like they just got so freaked out by this article. There's one innocuous article that just came out that was completely just whatever. It's weird.
No, I think it. Yeah, I mean, it just. Yeah, I don't know. It painted them as in a light they definitely weren't happy about.
I know that
definitely wasn't. It doesn't sound like it was an accurate portrayal of what they were, what they were doing, or what they were about.
I need to read that article though, because I want to actually read. I mean, I should have, but I just never thought of it. But I want to read that article to actually see like how bad of a light it actually paints them in, or if it's just like they're typical 20-year-old celebrities partying in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, skipping lines. I mean, that just happens. It's not a surprise.
Well, not even that, but you're named after the Rat Pack, which is basically a bunch of like drunks that would go out and sing. You know, like the Rat Pack,
Doesn't everybody love the Rat Pack?
Well, they do, but that's they would get all drunk on stage. Frank and Dino and the boys, and just have fun and joke around. So it's like they were basically the 20-year-old version of
they really could have leaned into that. I'm just
they probably could have, but at the time I don't know. Well, it was also 1985, so it's like a little different in terms and times of what people think is cool or not cool.
That's
and
what
stuff
I'm
too.
just I was gonna say too, and I keep forgetting, and I think I just lost it out of my head. No, but I think that somebody in the documentary said that when we were all like in our 20s or mid 20s or whatever, and so they didn't really know what to do with the article, and their instinct was just separate.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. You probably have your managers and stuff too, being like, "Oh, it
was just distance yourself from all of it."
Yeah, this is career kryptonite. Stay away from it.
Yeah.
Which is like, but the stuff that got you to where you are right now to be the Brat Pack.
Yeah.
Now just stop doing it instantly.
So the Brat, so was St. Elmo's Fire the last movie out of all those sort of like era movies?
Of the Brat Pack?
Yeah, like the like the 16 Candles, all those.
Sort of, I think. Yeah, it was kind of.
Okay, and then the article came out after that movie.
Yeah.
Or around that when that movie. Not the article obviously didn't come out when like Breakfast Club and stuff was going on.
No, it was like sort of after that, I think. Yeah.
The article's 85. Breakfast Club was like 84, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there were some John Hughes movies that came out after the article, like Pretty in Pink was after.
But she was the only one in that one, right? There was no
Molly
other.
Ringwald is in Pretty in Pink.
But she's the only one that was in it. Was there any other?
Andrew McCarthy was in that too.
Yeah, that's right. He was in it too.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, they were still making.
Remember Andrew McCarthy talked about the terrible wig they put him in.
Yeah,
in Pretty in Pink.
That's
because
right,
he had his head shaved for something.
Yeah, he was in the theater.
Yeah.
Yes, he was in the theater.
Yeah, that's right. He had to wear that wig for the one scene at the very end there. Yeah. That's another. I haven't seen Pretty in Pink in
I don't even know what that movie's about. But I guess
honestly, I didn't know it was a wig. So kudos to the prop master.
Once he said, I'm like, oh god, yeah. I totally see it. I'm like, well, it can also just be bad '80s hair.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. I guess my point is, I'm just trying to think the timeline in my head. It's like, look, do we really know it was the article that killed these people's careers, or was it St. Elmo's Fire?
Well, that's what I'm saying though, is that like. It's easier to blame the article than be like, hey, maybe I'm not as good as an actor as I thought it was, or something like that.
That's the harder pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Look, and then the 2000s came and they had the whole Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton, all those people hanging out, and then they just had paparazzi shots of up the skirts and stuff. That was the 2000s Brat Pack.
Maybe Andrew McCarthy and the Brat Pack, they walked so Britney Spears and Paris Hilton could run.
Well, that was kind of the point that some of them made, is exactly that. Not so much Paris Hilton, but people in the movie business stuff, where it became much more about the teens. Early 20s, and that was sort of much more the target market going, and still is really to this day.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's really making movies for seniors.
Yeah.
Some are Clint Eastwood, but most people, most of the big movies now are all geared towards that 18 to 35.
So if you look at the Brat Pack is kind of laying the foundation.
Well, that's kind of what Rob Lowe and a couple of them sort of said. Hey, if you look at it, this is kind of, did it suck to go through? Yeah. But
he's like, look at all the change we brought.
Someone had to be first.
Yeah.
It just happened to be us.
Yeah.
Can I just say something just in case Rob Lowe happens to listen to this? Rob Lowe, Brothers and Sisters, you were peak. Love that TV show.
Really?
I don't necessarily love that TV, but he was beautiful in that TV show.
Until you said TV show, I had no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, those are words. I know what the words mean. Yeah. Strung together like that, I don't know.
I just needed him to know that. You never know who's going to listen to this. He's still on TV,
isn't he? I saw some 911 type show or something. I swear I saw a commercial or something.
He's just always around.
Yeah.
He's had a long, he's had a long career.
I have his biography and I haven't read it yet.
The first thing I remember him coming back was Tommy Boy.
I remember Tommy Boy.
It was
a comeback role for him, yeah.
Yeah. And then he kind of just,
after the scandal, yeah.
Yeah, and he just kind of started, he did a ton of, I'm sure he did some other movies, I think, but just kind of
mostly he was on the
TV
West
stuff.
Wing, Brothers and Sisters, Parks and Rec. He did a lot of TV. He's worth a lot of money. Good for you, Rob.
I watched this show, it was him and his kids going around, chasing Bigfoot or something.
That seems crazy.
Yeah, it was on A&E or something.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going around chasing because I guess he's big into paranormal stuff.
So he's chasing Bigfoot and Andrew McCarthy's chasing the past.
Yeah, exactly. Both of the illusions or myths, who knows.
So one of the things they talked about one of the things in the movie was he was asking different people who was in the Brat Pack, because they had again, to me it's the St. Elmo's Fire crew plus Molly Ringwald that was sort of the Brat Pack. But they had because somebody was John Cryer, was he in the Brat Pack?
Well, because he was in Pretty in Pink, yeah.
And who else? There was other names.
What about
Anthony Michael Hall?
What about the blonde Mare Wyndham or whatever her name was, the blonde girl?
Oh. Why did she get left out?
From St. Elmo's Fire, yeah, she was
a main character.
She had a bigger role than Demi Moore.
Yeah,
yeah.
She was spared the Brat Pack title, I guess.
Yeah, it's a weird. That's the thing too. Even in the documentary, asking, no one kind of could.
Yeah.
He kind of had the same four names, and then after that, it was kind of.
There's a bunch of add-ons here and there, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm just the cultural impact. The Brat Pack films were notable for their realistic portrayals of teenage life and the issues young people faced. They resonated with audience and became defining films of the 1980s. The actors themselves became symbols of a generation, and their off-screen personas and friendships added to their allure. But they weren't even friends, really.
Well, I think that was part of it too. Was
people thought they were. I mean, they were filming the movies. I'm sure.
I'm sure they know what they were, but even you said, Andrew McCarthy, when he was doing this, he's I haven't talked to somebody who's been 40 years, 35, 30 years. It's
maybe nobody talked to him, but they all talked to each other.
Oh, snap! They had a group chat. And he wasn't in it.
Maybe that was it. He got kicked out of it. Yeah,
kicked out of it. It says by the 1980s, the Brat Pack phenomenon began to wane as the actors pursued different projects and grew older. The influence of their films endured, and they continued to be celebrated for their contributions to 1980s cinema. The term Brat Pack itself has since been used to describe other groups of young actors in subsequent decades, though none have achieved the same iconic status. The Brat Pack represents a unique moment in film history where a group of young actors and their films captured the spirit of a generation and left a lasting impact on popular culture.
It's true though, because you haven't really seen that since. There's been lots of teen actors and stuff like that, but kind of having a group of 8 or 9 of them that are kind of making almost all these not every movie coming out, but a good chunk of them hasn't really happened at all.
Look at the whole era of like the teen romance comedies, like they could have, like, why couldn't Freddie Prinze Jr. and like who else was in all those?
They did kind of had that. That
they
was
have their little Brat Pack.
The late 90s that had like
Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Phillippe and
Jennifer
Selma
Hewitt.
Blair. They were like, I kind of forgot about those. Yeah, that kind of was a
like
little bit of a
little
they were
revival.
all in like a bunch of movies together.
where they're sort of the same, not all of them, but they're sort of the same group
I'm pretty
in
sure
some way, shape, or form.
And there was no article that labeled them, right?
No.
But sort of the same thing happened to a lot of them. They never really transitioned out of those kind of teen roles into like the adult roles.
Okay, but
that's the thing too. Exactly, kind of the same thing. Like,
wait, let's look at it a different perspective. Clearly not Andrew McCarthy because he's bitter Betty. But I'm just saying, what if they didn't want to? What if they had that success? They made their movies and they were like, yeah, I'm good. I'm out of Hollywood. I'm just going to go live my life now. And they didn't want to be in any other films.
Molly Ringwald and Judd Nelson?
No, I'm talking about, like, we were talking about Freddie Prinze Jr. and stuff, how they didn't really do anything past those movies. But I'm just saying in general.
I'm pretty sure Freddie Prinze didn't he? I think he didn't. He'd take time off on his own.
But that's what I'm saying. So, like,
which is fine, but
no. But my point is, we're all assuming, like, unless they say it, we don't know. But we're all assuming that, like, they didn't really do anything afterwards. But maybe they didn't want to.
Some probably didn't, but a lot of them still acted. Just none
of them really said like, "Oh, I was done with acting after that."
I know. I'm just looking.
No, I'm just saying a lot of them. No, but I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, but most of them did still act. They just were in small roles and bit parts.
But maybe that was okay for them.
It might have been, yeah.
Not some of them, because some of them are bitter. But I'm just saying in general.
No, I mean it's very possible. Yeah, but I'm just saying if you want to be an actor, I'm guessing you want to be in the starring role, not the third friend on a sitcom or something, right?
Maybe. I mean, who knows? It's different for everybody. Not everybody wants to be Tom Cruise.
No, maybe not. But I'm saying I'm assuming if these people are still in front of a camera, they want to be an actor.
Especially if you've gotten top billing and suddenly you're not getting top billing anymore. I don't think they're like, oh, I'm happy being like.
No, I think if either
on the second page of the credits.
Yeah, like I said, some people who leave.
Yeah.
But those that stay, if they're on the camera, they're not. I don't think many people are standing in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Wanting to be the third friend or.
You never know.
You never know, but I'm just saying. I think
it's highly unlikely.
I think it's very unlikely. Yeah.
Look, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt because, like, I just don't want them to be all bitter about something that happened so long ago that doesn't even matter.
I'm confused. Are you talking about Brat Pack, or are you talking about now?
I'm just talking
Freddie Prinze
general.
Jr.
Well, Freddie Prinze Jr. I mean, him and whatever her name is went off and had babies.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
They're still married, so
yeah, no, they are.
Yeah,
they both kind of stepped away, I think.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Yeah. Did they? She was still around for a while.
A little bit, but I don't think they do anything now.
Freddie Prinze Jr., was he involved with like writing or something like that?
He was writing wrestling scripts.
Some of that, I remember hearing some of that,
yeah.
Probably making a lot of money doing that.
Super popular, yeah. Soon to come on Netflix.
Writing jobs are good if you're good at it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm on a podcast.
Look at David Foster. He wrote all those songs and he's a gazillionaire.
Writing music, that's a whole other. That's a whole other.
I know, but still.
Barrel of Monkeys, but yeah.
Okay, before we wrap this up.
We're way off in a tangent now.
Yeah. Okay, that's why I was bringing us back in. It's what happens. It's near the end. Before we end this, though, I'm going to quickly, each of you guys and myself, Eric, give us a synopsis of your thoughts on that movie.
A synopsis of my thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, what your overall feeling was, what you thought, and, surprised you, whatever.
You put me on the spot now, but I don't know. Like, it just kind of left me feeling like empty at the end. Like, I wasn't satisfied with like what happened. I don't think Andrew McCarthy had any sort of resolution, and it wasn't a great documentary, to be honest. It didn't really tell like a great story for the Brat Pack. It was mostly like Andrew McCarthy's kind of trying to deal with his own demons by connecting with his former castmates.
Yeah,
and he didn't really resolve any of his demons, from what I could tell. So I don't know. It just seemed like a very unsatisfying documentary.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm going to say thumbs down.
All right. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, it's kind of the same way. I was expecting totally different. I was expecting much more of like a retrospective look back and like, you know, him getting back together with everyone to talk about the movies and stuff like that, not just kind of bitch about this one article.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was nice to see everyone still doing well and whatever. Interesting to hear some good stories and stuff like that. But, yeah, it definitely wasn't what I was expecting at all.
No.
I was expecting much more of like a look back, like a fond look back on this great time in their lives, not like, this fucking article ruined this fucking jerk.
Okay, stop saying the F word. I mean, we're really deep in. People aren't listening now.
Yeah, so I'll give it a thumb sideways.
Oh, right. Sideways.
Yeah, I mean, right off the top, kind of like you guys, I was expecting it to be more like a history of them and blah, 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 blah. And it was completely different than what I was expecting. To me, it just seemed kind of, I don't know, the vibe I was getting, it just seemed very kind of sad and almost pathetic, him trying to reach out to these people and people weren't calling him back. I was like, ooh, sorry. And then just overall, like his butthurtness about it. Like, I mean, I get it. It was an impactful part of your life and who knows what could have been, but it's been so long. Can't you just kind of like, I don't know, whatever. I just thought he came off kind of as bitter and annoying, and Ali Sheedy all the way.
That's just like, you guys made some great movies.
Yeah, like
a lot of them have stood the test of time. They're still watched. They're still regarded well. So embrace that and be proud of it.
Well, and I think too, like I just think what he wanted out of that journalist was just weird.
Well, he's never going to get what he wants.
But it's weird that he wanted
inside,
that.
Not out there.
No, but I'm saying it's weird.
Peace.
No, I'm just saying it's weird that he was going for that apology type thing. Like I thought, like it just made.
I want him to cut him.
Hold on, it just made him seem. That made him seem a little bit more pathetic than I was already feeling about him. I'm sorry. That's just the vibe I got.
No,
it was kind of sad.
Your opinion, you're allowed to have it.
I'm going to give it a thumbs down just because I think it could have been really good, but it was too much wah.
No, I think if you're going in there expecting like a fun look back on the Brat Pack years, that's definitely not the movie you're thinking.
No, it's not. And it's just very like wah. But I want you guys out there to watch it if you can.
Yeah, it's on Hulu, right?
Hulu. Comment down below and let us know what your thoughts, because maybe we're seeing it totally different. I don't know. That my general vibe from it was just kind of like
yeah, not at all what I was expecting.
No.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to like shake him and be like, dude, you're 60.
Get over it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's rename it Brats to Andrew McCarthy's Bitter Little Pill.
Yeah.
But yeah, comment below and let us know what you guys think of Brats, the documentary. Definitely check it out if you know anything, if you like those 80s movies. I mean, just for that.
It's just fun to see some of the Brat Pack.
And Ali Sheedy, go girl. But that is it for today's podcast. We thank you so very much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
See you in the next one.